Hi YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer, Evelyn. Today we're going to be finally reviewing the new AMC series, Rice Mayfair Witches. So, we're gonna start a new journey. The Mayfair Witches in the same universe as Interview with the Vampire. If you wanna know what Interview with the Vampire is about, I recommend you see the thumbnail here for the first video that I did. So, as an avid fan of Anne Rice, when I read most of her books as a teenager, I also read The Witching Hour, the introduction of Rowan Mayfair and all the assembled cast of characters. So, essentially, the Mayfair Witches is about a family in New Orleans that their surname's Mayfair, and all of them are witches, including the males. And the premise of the lives of the Mayfair Witches is the family is attached with a kind of like ghost parasite that comes in the guise of a man, and they call him a Lasher. So I remember reading The Witching Hour, and then I didn't read Lasher per se, but I read Blackwood Farm and also the Blood Canton Seal. Something like that. I'll put the image here. It's been a long time, so forgive me if I get a bit muddled up here. So when I saw episode 1, we get introduced to the Mayfair Witches, the Mayfair house in the present time that it looks quite old and decrepit. And we see a doctor pulling up into the driveway. Well, but then again, the time setting was a little bit funny. Like, it was present day from what we see, but the doctor looks like he's wearing clothes not in the right time setting. So when he goes up, he sees a woman, like a late 40s woman sitting in a chair, completely catatonic. And we find out that he's been tasked to give the woman her shot to keep herself, in that sedative state. And we find out this woman is called Deirdre Mayfair. Well, the doctor is a little bit shocked to find out that his patient is only 47 years old, because when he read the file, he told the helper, the housekeeper, that her file is so thick that he initially thought that the patient was an elderly woman. And the housekeeper looks like that she's on the secret. She was like, we just only need you to give her a fluorescein shot, in which he doesn't do it, because first he goes into the living room or the drawing room of the house and he starts looking through the interior. He sees pictures of, black and white pictures, and then afterwards, when he's looking through the file, he turns to see where the window is or the doorway, and then he sees a man talking to the patient. And when he goes quickly through the doorway to see the housekeeper there sitting doing, I think, some knitting, and Deirdre's still there, he goes and asks the housekeeper, did you see the man there that was talking to my patient? And the housekeeper says in a deadpan face, which I was like, well, a bit funny, no. So we know everybody's in on the secret. And then there's a shot in which they focus on Deirdre Mayfair's face, her eyes, these deep blue eyes, and then we get a transition shot in where we meet Rowan Fielding. Like, a bit of spoilers here. Rowan Fielding is actually Rowan Mayfair, and Rowan Mayfair is the daughter of Deirdre, who's at present time catatonic. We get a transition shot in which she's in her own little yacht or boat, so she lives on the boat, and then we find out, just like in the book, she's a neurosurgeon. A very gifted neurosurgeon, and she's about to help in do the surgery of a young boy, who she reassures the boy that everything will be okay, because obviously the young boy is terrified that she's going to die. But unbeknownst to her, all these businessmen, CEOs are there watching the gallery, and this other, resident doctor, chief doctor, whatever, takes over the surgery of the young boy. But this doctor clearly hasn't, done surgeries on children, so Rowan's trying to tell him that I suggest you flip him over to prevent another brain bleed, but the doctor doesn't want to listen. Now, in due course, it does happen, and then the doctor flips over. So I'm gonna maybe jump back and forward the episode. Like, when Rowan does come back to harbor before going to the hospital, she meets up with her adoptive mother, Ellie Fielding, and we find out that Rowan's adopted, so we can see the connection here. Then jumping forward, and after when Rowan finishes the surgery, in which one of the other assistant nurses tells Rowan that this doctor clearly doesn't want to listen, he almost killed the patient. And when Rowan comes out, she goes and finds her adoptive mom, Ellie, in the hospital, and Rowan obviously asks, what happened? Why are you here? And then Ellie says that she was down for some scans, and she sadly tells Rowan that her cancer has returned, in which Rowan is understandably distraught. So she goes back to the chief attendant, the surgeon, I guess a position higher than her, goes and asks this guy surgeon, if he can help her, because she knows that he has contacts with this CEO of this research trial group thing, Daniel Lemecq, and he asks the chief surgeon if he can help her get a space in his research to find a cure for Ellie's cancer. But the chief surgeon just says no. He tells her that she's arrogant and how dare she thinks that she can ask such a favor. So he starts, berating Rowan a lot, which was, of course, we could see the misogyny there. And Rowan starting to get very angry. And this moment, I do remember that bit when I read the book, that Rowan starts to manifest those witch powers of telekinesis, however you like to say it. And in that moment, she starts to imagine in her head parts of the brain, particular arteries in which she wanted it to explode or punch her a hole. And she does that. And she uses her mind power without her knowing to make the guy, have an aneurysm basically. And she's incredibly shocked. So we get a transition back to the past, in which we see a young Deirdre Mayfair in a confession booth with a priest. And the priest, we can clearly see, knows the secrets about the Mayfair Witches when she starts talking about certain things. And then the priest asks Deirdre about the man, in which during having a conversation, Deirdre with her rosary cross starts etching in the wooden kind of windowsill between the booth the name Lasher. So, what is this creature Lasher, played by Jack Houston? What's his purpose within the story? For all better, terms we can say, Lasher is a parasite, a ghost or a manifestation of a parasite in my eyes. From when I read the book, a bit of spoilers, we understand that he's a very old creature that died, and he seems really keen to come back into the world of the living. In what way? My understanding, for maybe since the Mayfair Witches have, that supernatural powers, maybe he wants to transfer his soul into one of the witches' child. So we get a little bit of Antichrist, Damien, Exorcist kind of feels in that way. We see that Deirdre Mayfair is closely protected by the aunts in the Mayfair Manor, and when she goes to Catholic school, we see the first sighting of Lasher's power, maybe, in which when she comes out, she finds a lot of rose petals falling around all the other school children, and we see in a faraway shot Lasher is there. And of course, the aunties come in with their, with their car and a chauffeur, and the auntie is telling a young Deirdre Mayfair, stop encouraging the man, and she tells the auntie, I didn't do anything, he did it himself. So we get put forward in the flashbacks that Deirdre Mayfair is very unhappy being locked up, which is understandable, and we see that she's carrying around this pendant cross. I think that's we have yet to find out, of course, why Lasher's been attached to the Mayfair family. And we see that Deirdre wants to break out of the house, and Lasher kind of suggests to her, why don't you go off to, your Uncle Cortland Mayfair's party, in which she does. Okay, so we get put flash forward, in which Rowan, after she feels that she killed the chief attendant, goes to her adoptive mom's chemotherapy session and starts telling her about her theory. And the mom says, don't be silly, and then Rowan she wants to know about her origins, but Ellie is demanding that her adoption was a closed adoption, that no matter what, she couldn't find out about her origins, which was suspicious. So Rowan goes off and puts herself in the position to be one of the researchers in the CEO of Daniel Lemecq's company called Ravina, about genetic coding, and Daniel's kind of other aim was to have longevity, so anti-aging kind of medicine. So Rowan talks to Daniel and she tells him, thank you for putting me in this position. And then Daniel goes and tells Rowan, I know about your sick mother. And Rowan's a little bit okay, and then Daniel tells Rowan, okay, here's the trial study that we have of 30 people. Choose one person to kick off from the trial so we can put your mother in there. And Rowan's left stunned. I can't do that. Somebody's other potential chance of getting cured. But Daniel says, well, we have to go by the FDA, and they're a mandate of 30 people. But Rowan doesn't want to do that. Well, I don't like Rowan was, in my opinion, she was a bit naive there, thinking it's gonna be as easy as adding in another person. It's gonna be a sacrifice. But Rowan tells Daniel, like, my mom would never forgive me, Ellie, if I were to do that. And then Daniel gets Rowan angry again, and then he says, well, what do you think was going to happen? Being so naive and delusional. And then Rowan yet again gets angry and gives blood comes out from Daniel's ears, and eventually he also dies of a brain aneurysm. In that moment, Rowan is shocked. She goes running back to her mom Ellie's house, and she starts telling Ellie, oh my god, I think I just killed another person. And then Ellie's so mad, she's like, Rowan, get a grip of yourself. And then of course Rowan goes off, but Ellie then calls to this organization, Talamasca. Now, I'm very excited for this because in the Anne Rice's universe, Rice Mayfair in the Blackwood Farm, I believe it was, or the other one, Blood Canterville, I can't remember which book, she ends up crossing paths with Lestat through Tarquin, another vampire, but that's a whole nother story. And the Talamasca is essentially a paranormal investigation group that's origins in England, where we get David Talbot, but there's one key thing. If I remember correctly, the Michael Curry is also another prominent character in the book, in which he got his powers through an accident, and he had psychometric powers where he can touch things and see the memories of these particular objects. But I see the character of Michael Curry being played by, I think they've changed the name to Cypher Greaves. Apparently he's attached to Rowan's case file, so that's different. We can see the connection because Michael Curry, I don't know how he originally met Rowan in the book. I won't get into that. I'll probably clarify that for episode 2. So it's just kind of like me conjuring up, past memories, trying to remember things, chronologically. And when Ellie's talking to Cypher, she's basically telling him, what's changed? I need to know that my daughter will be safe, that she won't find out. And then Cypher Greaves says that he'll go to investigate. And then he does go to the Mayfair Witches' house, the big manor. He touches the gate, and then he sees, I believe, these flashbacks of a woman hanging from a noose. I don't remember exactly, and he kind of sees Lasher. He tells Ellie that he still feels the presence of the man there, and not to worry, that he'll keep Ellie updated. And when Ellie hangs up, we get a flashback from Ellie's point of view on when she met, Rowan as a baby. But I'm jumping ahead there. So we get a flashback. Deirdre's at the party. We see Cortland Mayfair and another woman. Because I do believe the other character of Julian Mayfair, there was another description of his story. But anyway, Cortland Mayfair played by Harry Hamill. I only know him as a husband from the Wives of, Beverly Hills? God knows, anyway. That's the only reason I knew this guy, this guy in the media. And Deirdre goes there, and then Cortland is there going, oh, come here, enjoy yourself. But before that, there was a selection of boys in which he chose one boy. For what reason? We don't know. So Deirdre gets paired up with this boy that Cortland Mayfair went and, kind of picked out weirdly. And in that moment, I think Deirdre gets drunk, she's dancing, and then she hooks up. So in that scene where Deirdre's getting it on with the guy, we get kind of a Rosemary's Baby type of feel to it, in which, I believe the Lasher was there possessing this guy. Afterwards, when she wakes up, she finds out that the boy that she was with mysteriously died. And to top it off, she's pregnant. And then we get a jump forward in the flashback scene that she looks 8 months pregnant. She's there talking to the priest, and she's hoping the priest can help when the priest came to the house. But in actual fact, the priest knows about the guy, and she finds everything so futile. So Deirdre sees no option left, so she tries to end her life by jumping off the balcony from our house. It's a bit funny that in Interview the Vampire episode 1 and then this one, Louis' brother ends his life by jumping off of the house, and Deirdre tries to do the same, but Lasher prevents her. And then of course Lasher and Deirdre, they have a conversation in the main living room, and then Lasher shows Deirdre his real his multiple faces, let's say. Deirdre takes off the pendant, and an interesting fact, Lasher tells Deirdre that the pendant is kind of like that connection, that spell holding him, binding him there. Because I do think that Lasher only got attached to the Mayfair Witches because I think they did a spell to attach Lasher to them, thinking that Lasher could help them become successful and whatnot, but maybe not knowing fully the price. And then when Deirdre sees Lasher's face, it's kind of like he says he's like everything at once. Like his face changes to multiple ethnicities, to multiple things, and then to something as well ghoulish. And then we get jump forward in which Deirdre gives birth to Rowan, and the aunties tell Deirdre that Rowan died at childbirth, while lying to Deirdre. But the actual fact is the aunties went and gave Ellie the baby, and we found out that Ellie is related to the Mayfairs. In what capacity, I don't know. And the aunties tell Ellie that you must never bring back Warren to this place. She must never find out about her origins to save you and herself, in which Ellie agrees to that, which is quite, shocking as it is. Towards the end of the episode, in present day, the doctor doesn't give Deirdre Mayfair the shot to keep her in a sedative state, and he tells Deirdre, I want to know who Deirdre Mayfair really is without all this, drugs. And he even removes Deirdre's necklace, in which could be a deadly thing, because immediately Cypher agrees, in the Talamasca area, gets told by the secretary that Lasher is on the move. So we can see the Talamasca probably has like all these psychics, mediums, telekinetic people there as investigators for them to feel like the spiritual thing going on. So Cypher goes and tries to call back Ellie, but we find out we only see an empty bed. So Ellie, she's dead, which is quite unfortunate. And then Rowan is there on the boat. There's a storm coming. She wakes up and then she sees a man outside the door from the boat, and it's Lasher. And then episode 1 ends there. My thoughts about the episode: there's a lot to unpack, and it's the first time the Mayfair Witches has been put onto TV. So I hope it's gonna be one of those. It might be a little bit of a spicy show, not sure. It was a tad bit slow, but there's a lot to uncover here. And I'm really excited when Rowan just go and find out about her family. But anyway, if you made it to the end of this quite long video, many thanks. And to any new viewers, appreciate it if you can hit the subscribe button and let me know your thoughts and comments down below, what you think about episode 1. And as I leave you always,